Spider-Man, the web slinger and the probably one of the most popular and most recognizable superheroes of all time. We're doing a video about him. This video, I've already recorded the video. This intro is being recorded after I've recorded the video. It's like 2 hours long. It's like 2 fucking hours long. Like, that's long. It's completely unedited. I'm not editing at all except from cuts when I take a break to get water, since this did take probably around 5 hours to record, or just 5 hours to sit down and read all of this. I will be covering in separate videos with like maybe 3 or 5 characters at once of different alternate universe, multiverse Spider-Man, and also the Spider-Man and women, I guess. Fucking non-binary Spider-Man, goddamn queers. Um, I will be also covering stuff in the future, like the Infinity Gems, the different races, all these symbiotes. I will be doing a Halloween themed Carnage video. I will be releasing the Carnage and the Batman Who Laughs video on October 31st. Um, I mean, enjoy the video. Enjoy the 2 hours of me talking nonstop. Yeah. And comment anything you'd want me to cover, and I will totally do that. Literally, I'm like happy to do it. Peter Parker, Earth 616. Hope you are watching, Uncle Ben, because I did that for you. Kept everyone safe, kept them from being scared, and I made it fun. It doesn't matter that most of them wouldn't have lifted a finger for Peter Parker. That's not why you do it. You do it because it's the right thing to do. Because what you would have done. Because you are more than a father to me, Ben Parker. More than a role model. You are my hero. Now it's my turn. Because from now on, I'm going to be yours. You'll see. I'm going to give it my all. We'll have fun. I'll never quit. It's going to be amazing. Sometimes student, sometimes scientist, and sometimes photographer, Peter Parker is a full-time superhero better known as the web-slinging and wall-crawling Spider-Man. As an orphan child, Peter was raised by his Uncle Ben and Aunt May. At a science expo, Peter was bitten by an errant, radioactive spider, which granted him an array of arachnid-based powers. He initially became Spider-Man to use his powers as an entertainer, growing so conceited he not bother stopping a passerby burglar in a twist. Why did my music stop? What? In a twist of fate, the same burglar wound up killing Peter's Uncle Ben, leading him to realize that he needed to use his powers responsibly. From then on, Spider-Man became a crime-fighting vigilante. Often a loner, Spider-Man is a stalwart member of the superhero community who has earned numerous allies like the Fantastic Four and the Avengers. He has made of what the fuck? That makes no sense. He has made of numerous. Does that make sense? He has made numerous supervillains his personal enemies, including Doctor Octopus, Electro, Kraven the Hunter, Mysterio, and Venom. Oh, Venom, and most notoriously his arch nemesis, the Green Goblin. Also, we'll get to them later. Who killed Peter's girlfriend, Gwen Stacy? Peter's support network extends to civilian life, including Mary Jane Watson, Harry Osborn, Flash Thompson, and J. Jonah Jameson. Although the latter used to run a smear campaign against the wall crawler in his newspaper, the Daily Bugle. His first appearance was in Amazing Fantasy 15, June 1962. Alright, read.
Peter Benjamin Parker was born in Queens to CIA agents Richard and Mary Parker, who were killed by the communist Red Skull and framed for treason during a mission. Following his parents' death, the young Parker was adopted by his uncle and aunt, Ben and May Parker, moving in with them at their residence in Forest Hills, New York. After they adopted him, they became his surrogate parents and raised him as if he were their own son. Over the years of being a teenager, Parker grew to be a prodigy in multiple scholastic subjects at Midtown High School and achieved high honors among his classmates. However, his reserved nature and enthusiasm for knowledge often made him a target for bullying, primarily by football star. Oh,
Eugene Flash Thompson. All right, thank you, Charlie.
oh.
When Peter was only 15 years old, he attended the wait, that was stupid actually. When Peter was 15 years old, he attended the public exhibition of a device called the Isotope Genome Accelerator. A spider on the scene was irradiated by the accelerator during its demonstration. In sudden shock, the arachnid landed on the hand of the oblivious student and bit him before dying from the exposure to the radiation. Initially malaise by the what the fuck does that word mean? Initially malaise by the incident, Peter left the venue. He was almost hit by a car until he instinctively leapt out of the way, clinging to the side of a building a couple of meters high. Peter discovered that he had somehow gained superhuman powers that he immediately associated with the bite at the demonstration. The proportionate strength, speed, and agility of a spider, as well as surface scaling and precognitive what the fuck and a precognitive ability to detect and avoid danger that he dubbed his spider sense. Encountering an ad offering a cash prize for lasting 3 minutes in the ring with Joseph Crusher Hogan, Peter decided this. God, I sound like a fucking TikToker. Peter decided this would be a good way to test his powers. Wearing a mask to avoid humiliation in case of defeat, Peter used his powers and easily defeated his opponent. TV producer Maxwell Schiffman observed his performance and convinced him to go on television with his act, designing a full costume and fabricating a synthetic spider's webbing and wrist-mounted web shooters. Peter debuted as Spider-Man to become an immediate sensation. Following his first TV appearance, Spider-Man witnessed a fleeing robber run past him. Peter opted against stopping the thief, maintaining that it wasn't his responsibility. Weeks later, Peter returned home one day to learn from the police that his Uncle Ben had been murdered by a burglar, also learning that the police had the murderer holed up in a warehouse. Peter changed into a Spider-Man costume and cornered the burglar, only to discover that he was the same thief he had allowed to escape days earlier. Filled with remorse in knowing that his inaction had led to tragedy, Peter realized that when someone has the power, they have an obligation to use it responsibly. From this realization, the gravity of events he decided to become a vigilante superhero, helping whomever he could. Taking on great responsibility. The first problem young Peter faced was the lack of money with the death of his uncle. Due to the fact that his Aunt May was too weak to work and Peter was seen as fragile, he decided to get a job. Even though Aunt May wanted him to become a scientist instead Peter even thought about using spider powers for crime out of desperation. Decided against it after thinking how his aunt would react to him in jail. However, it was seeming impossible to find a job in order to pay his growing debts. As Spider-Man, he was not able to continue his career as a TV star because of J. Jonah Jameson, owner of Now magazine and the newspaper The Daily Bugle, who started a smear campaign against Spider-Man. Jameson would make statements that he was a bad influence for children and a criminal for taking justice into his own hands. Referring to the situation with the burglar, protests started taking effect and turning the public perception against Spider-Man, eventually causing Spider-Man's manager to leave him, impeding his ability to earn money, even in costume. With these forced change of events, Peter searched through the want ads only to be rejected by all the employers. Not being able to use the superpowers of Spider-Man infuriated Peter, and his fury only intensified after seeing his Aunt May selling her jewelry to try to earn some money. Spider-Man's second heroic action was to save Jameson's astronaut son, John Jameson, from an accident in a deviated space capsule. Spider-Man hitched a ride on a small airplane and boarded the capsule during re-entry. Spider-Man then attached the missing capsule piece, allowing it to land safely. Although he had saved John, Spider-Man was still blamed by Jameson for the accident. Later, trying to find a way to make some money, he decided to join superhero team the Fantastic Four. Spidey intruded into the Baxter building, battling the Fantastic Four as a way of showing them his power. But the team refused Spider-Man's entry after explaining to him that they did not get paid for their actions, that they were a family, not an enterprise. Later that day, the Russian criminal and master of disguise known as the Chameleon used Spider-Man's identity to steal defense missile plans. The real Spidey was used by Chameleon as a pawn to skip the scene without problems, after managing to avoid capture by the police. Spider-Man caught Chameleon in a helicopter before he could reach a Soviet submarine and handed him over to authorities. Peter finally found a way to make money when the Daily Bugle asked for photos of the winged criminal known as the Vulture. Not only did Spider-Man defeat the villain, but he also found a way to take photos, which caused Jameson to hire Peter and get him pictures of Spider-Man, under the condition that the publicist would not ask Peter how he took the pictures. Early in his career, Spider-Man fought many villains, including the Tinkerer, Dr. Octopus, the Sandman, Dr. Doom, the Fox, the Lizard, the Living Brain, Electro, the Big Man, and his bodyguards, the Enforcers, Mysterio, Kraven the Hunter, and his deadliest and greatest foe of all time, the Green Goblin. Several of these villains would form the Sinister Six, under the leadership of Dr. Octopus, a team who tried to get Spider-Man by kidnapping Aunt May and Betty Brant and trying to force Peter to call him. They failed. During this time, Peter dated Betty Brant of the Daily Bugle, although Liz Alon had a crush on him. At the same time, both Peter's Aunt May and their neighbor, Anna Watson, were constantly encouraging Peter to date Anna's niece, Mary Jane Watson, whoever that is. Before his high school graduation, Peter continued to fight off menaces, including the Scorpion, Professor Spencer Smythe's Spider Slayer, the Crime Master, and the Molten Man. He also assisted the recently formed Avengers in defeating a Spider-Man android that was created by King the Conqueror. Me when King conquers, oh, conquer me, King. At one point, Aunt May's health got so bad that she suffered a heart attack. Peter heard the news while he and the Human Torch were fighting the Green Goblin, and he was forced to flee in order to get to her quickly. However, this only convinced the public at large that Spider-Man was a coward who had fled from a battle. Die-hard Spider-Man fans like Flash Thompson continued to support him, while J. Jonah Jameson ran editions in the Bugle claiming that he himself had scared Spider-Man off. While looking after Aunt May, Spider-Man was forced to escape yet again from the Sandman in order to get home quickly. When he learned that his aunt's health had improved, he vowed to prove the world wrong about him. Meanwhile, a worried Torch tried to look for Spider-Man, but only managed to get captured by the Sandman. Spider-Man rescued him and defeated his enemy, wiping the smirk off Jameson's face and getting the world to appreciate him again. A hero in the university. Eventually, Peter graduated from high school as valedictorian and enrolled at Empire State University on a science scholarship, making new classmates such as Harry Osborn and Gwen Stacy. Though they got off to a bad start, Peter eventually befriended Harry, Gwen, and even his high school bully, Flash Thompson. The Green Goblin came back and discovered Spider-Man's secret identity, kidnapping him and revealing his own alter ego, that of Harry's father, Norman Osborn. Norman Osborn. In a furious battle, the villain lost all memories of his time as a supervillain. During that time, Spider-Man fought new foes such as the Rhino, the Shocker, as well teaming up with Doctor Strange to defeat the wizard known as Zandu. Alright, I want to say, because I don't feel like I give enough input during these readings, I fucking love how the Shocker looks. His suit is so cool. The brown and yellow, and I'm pretty sure he was like a joke character too. Oh wait, hold on. Oh no, I'm thinking of the Shocker. He uses energy. See, you would think he uses you would think that he would use like electricity, but he uses I believe he uses, hold on, let's see, concentrated blast of air. So it's not electricity, it's air that's like hot, I think. I don't know. Anyway, back to it. Peter shared a room with Brian Braddock. Well, Braddock studied at ESU. Quickly figuring out that he was Captain Britain, while keeping his own identity as Spider-Man a secret. Peter was instrumental in getting Braddock to take his heroic responsibilities more serious. The Avengers also tried to make him a member at one point, but Spider-Man declined the offer. Peter finally met Mary Jane Watson, but at that time he was interested in Gwen, so Mary Jane started dating Harry. After finding an old newspaper clipping that identified his parents as traitors to their country in his aunt's house, Peter decided to learn the full story, traveling to Algeria with the Fantastic Four's aid. He learned that his parents were supposedly spies who worked for the communist Red Skull, and he came across their ID badges for the Skull's organization. Spider-Man also stumbled upon the original Nazi Red Skull and his man, what the fuck, who had previously worked for the other Red Skull. In the aftermath, Peter found his father's CIA identification card, proving to Peter that his parents were secret government operatives. With evidence clear his parents' names, Peter returned to the States. Sometime later, after the return of Kraven and battling a second Vulture, Peter wondered if he was better off not being Spider-Man and banned his alter ego. Crime rose, and a new kingpin of crime appeared in New York, abducting J. Jonah Jameson. Peter returned to his heroic identity and Frederick Foswell, formerly the crime boss, the big man, sacrificed his life to save Jameson's. The newly inspired Spider-Man refought many of his previous villains who returned with grudges, including why am I talking like I'm a fucking guy in an advertisement? Including Dr. Octopus, the Vulture, and Mysterio. A small fragment of a mystical artifact called the Tablet of Life and Time exhibited in ESU was stolen by the Kingpin. The tablet passed over many who tried to get it, including Spider-Man, the Shocker, who was working for the Kingpin at the time, and Man-Mounted Margot, who was working for the Magia. Finally, the tablet fragments made its way to the Magia boss, Silvermane, who forced Dr. Kurt Connors to translate the fragment. Connors managed to create a powerful rejuvenation serum from it. Silvermane drank it and became a young man again. But the serum made Silvermane regress beyond birth. He age regressed? Meanwhile, Connors as the lizard escaped and later was returned to normal by Spider-Man once again. The death of the Stacys. Soon after, Dr. Octopus managed to get his mechanical arms again, broke free from prison. After Spider-Man thwarted his attempt to hijack a plane, he started attacking the city's main power plant. Although Spider-Man escaped from Octopus, Spider-Man was then taken by surprise by Octopus the next day. They battled on a rooftop, and Captain George Stacy died when saving a child from falling debris from the battle. Before dying, Stacy revealed to Spider-Man that he knew his secret identity and asked him to take care of Gwen. Being accused of Stacy's death, Spider-Man faced some heroes who wanted to take him to the authorities, such as the X-Men the Iceman, and the beginner superhero, the Prowler. Peter even went to London to prevent Gwen's departure forever after her father's death. Things got worse. Harry became addicted to LSD, and Peter, along with Gwen and Mary Jane, took care of him. This familial stress caused Norman Osborn's Green Goblin persona to return, and he, once again, battled Spider-Man. During the battle, Norman was exposed to his son's declining condition in the hospital. This severed the control of the Green Goblin persona over Norman, caused Norman to have amnesia again. With secret identity making his life impossible, Peter tried to give up being Spider-Man and create a serum meant to eliminate spider powers. That instead made him grow 4 extra arms. With the help of Curt Connors, he found a cure, finding a new enemy. No. Morbius, the living vampire. I do kind of want to read about this guy because he's so stupid. Or he's not even stupid. He honestly looks really cool. It's just the movie was so terrible. Ooh, Blade. I wonder if Blade hunts him. That would be cool. Oh, he's British? Fighting a new enemy, Morbius, the living vampire. And Connor's alter ego, the lizard, in the process. Norman Osborn's alter ego resurfaced again, and the Green Goblin kidnapped Gwen Stacy. Spider-Man found them at the Brooklyn Bridge, where they fought, and Gwen fell from the bridge. She died when Spider-Man reached her with a web line, breaking her neck while she was in a state of shock. Meanwhile, the Goblin escaped. A furious Peter searched, found, and battled him again. In this battle, Norman was impaled in the chest with his own Goblin glider, apparently killing himself. Peter was extremely distraught over the death of Gwen, possibly even more so than when Uncle Ben died. An equally traumatized Mary Jane tried to comfort Peter after Gwen's death. She was initially brushed off, but they eventually got closer. After being accused of the death of both of the Stacys and attending Gwen's funeral as Peter, Spider-Man was confronted by heroes such as Luke Cage and the Punisher. Later, Harry, who had discerned Spider-Man's secret identity and wanted revenge for his father's death, took up the identity of the Green Goblin and kidnapped Flash Thompson. Mary Jane and Aunt May in an attempt to lure him out and kill him. Spider-Man managed to find him at his father's old home and defeated him, leaving him to the authorities. Harry was sent to a mental hospital. The original Clone Saga. Peter later had to go on a work trip with Robbie Robertson. What a fucking name. And he and Mary Jane shared the first kiss at the airport. After returning from the trip to France, Peter found an alive Gwen Stacy, but could not bear the to rekindle their relationship because of his kiss with MJ. What? With the help of Ned Leeds, Spider-Man found out. I'm so fucking full. That this Gwen was a clone created by the Jackal, who, after defeating Spider-Man with the help of the Tarantula, was revealed to be Peter's science teacher, Professor Miles Warren. After kidnapping Leeds and Spider-Man, Warren explained to the hero that he had loved Gwen and blamed Spider-Man for her death. After managing to clone a frog, he used blood sample from Gwen to clone her. Oh, that's really weird, actually. Just imagine what he did to Gwen. Oh, that's weird. Later, Spider-Man was left unconscious in a stadium where he battled a clone of himself to save Ned from a bomb. Who's Ned Leeds? The fucking Hobgoblin? Hobgoblin? What? Who the fuck is Hobgoblin? I mean... Oh god, Spider-Man has so many fucking villains. I'm gonna have to, read about all of them too. That's fine though. Gwen's clone made the Jackal realize that everything was wrong, so he freed Ned and the bomb exploded, apparently killing both the Jackal and the Spider-Man clone. Spider-Man took the corpse of his clone and dumped it into an industrial chimney, while the clone of Gwen Stacy left New York. Unsure whether he was the real Peter Parker or the clone, he had Kurt Connors run the tests on him. However, he never checked the results, being convinced by his emotions for Mary Jane that he must be the original. A new appreciation for life. Peter had to leave Betty Brant's engagement party to defeat the Shocker, causing friction between him and Mary Jane. Later, Peter served as best man at Ned Leeds and Betty Brant's wedding. Spider-Man later faced Harry's psychiatrist, Dr. Bart Hamilton, who became the third Green Goblin and who, after various encounters, died as a result of his own actions. After a fight with Harry, who had briefly become the Goblin against Stop Hamilton, Peter then proposed marriage to Mary Jane, but she did not accept, making their relationship falter. MJ moved to Florida with her Aunt Anna. Spider-Man managed to clear his name while Peter Parker graduated from ESU. Also, Spencer Smythe, the creator of the Spider Slayers, died from an illness after trying to kill Spider-Man and Jameson, the man he blamed for ruining his life. As Peter continued to live on his own, his Aunt May decided to transform her home into a senior citizens boarding house. At one point, Mysterio managed to convince Spider-Man that she had died. Spider-Man later discovered that she had been kidnapped by the same burglar who had shot and killed his Uncle Ben. After cornering the burglar furiously and revealing that he was the nephew of Ben Parker, the man that the burglar had killed, he died of fright? What that makes no sense. At one point, Parker began a romantic relationship and heroic partnership with Black Cat, developing feelings for her and even starting to love her. Although Parker later broke it off due to Black Cat's disdain for Parker's life apart from being Spider-Man. Also, I've been on fandom this whole time. I've been recording for 27 minutes, but I've also recorded other stuff. My ad blocker has blocked 2,000 ads. Now this is why I hate fandom. Secret Wars. Spoilers for Secret Wars ahead, as I know this is a extremely powerful, Secret Wars. Spoiler for Secret Wars ahead, as I know this is an extremely popular like story in the Marvel universe. Okay. When the Beyonder kidnapped Earth's heroes to fight in his secret wars, Peter Parker was with them. After his costume got damaged, Parker used an unfamiliar piece of technology to fix him. However, his costume was replaced by an alien symbiote, which shaped itself into a black costume. Parker, unaware that he was wearing an alien as a costume, used it as his regular costume. The symbiote was also able to create its own webbing and change its appearance to look like regular clothes. Excuse me, holy shit. The Alien Costume Saga. Once the Secret Wars came to an end, Parker returned to Earth along with the other abducted superhumans and continued the use of the black suit. He eventually noticed that the costume behaved strangely, so he sought help from the Fantastic Four's Mr. Fantastic, who discovered that the suit was a living organism. He helped remove the costume by force and kept it at the Fantastic Four's headquarters in captivity. The symbiote would later escape, plaguing the life of Parker again, and ultimately merging with one of Spider-Man's critics, Eddie Brock, creating the villain Venom in a climactic fight. Spider-Man defeated this new foe. Improving life. As Spider-Man, Parker has met and fought alongside nearly every superhero in Manhattan, if not the world, although he fought alongside the Avengers many times. He unsuccessfully, at that time, tried to join their number when he learned of the financial stipend their members received. Parker helped them stop an invasion and subsequent breakout of the energy research and villain internment facility, Project Pegasus. However, Spider-Man was deemed to be too disruptive to the team's cohesiveness, perhaps to either his loner nature, lack of experience, or annoying sense of humor. He was denied membership, although Spider-Man later met the international mercenary Silver Sable and would often be working on her behalf. Soon after a fight with Spider Slayer, Peter and Mary Jane married. Spider-Man later defeated Venom in battle again. Peter's old friend Harry Osborn, leased the couple a loft in the condo that Harry and his family were also living in. Mary Jane's cousin Christy also temporarily moved in with the Parkers at one point. Eventually, however, the Parkers had to move into a room in Aunt May's house due to financial problems. Even superheroes have financial issues. At this time, Spider-Man once again allied with the Avengers to stop the alien Nebula from destroying reality with her Infinity Union. An increasingly unnerved Spider-Man, unaccustomed to dealing with the cosmic scale menaces, accidentally allowed Nebula to absorb the power of the Infinity Union. Although the Avengers, Spider-Man, and the cosmic being the Stranger thwarted her regardless, Parker was told again that Spider-Man might not be suited for Avengers membership. Damn, they fucking hate this guy. Although later he was inducted onto the team on a provisional basis. Based. At this, wait, that's the wrong one. Damn it. Parker later returned to his studies and postgraduate work as a lab assistant at Empire State University. During this time, Parker was briefly endowed with the powers of Captain Universe and the Enigma Force in order to stop a series of robots, including the mutant-killing Tri-Sentinel. Once the menace was defeated, the new powers he had gained left him. Fearful Symmetry. Kraven's Last Hunt. This story is really good. I have to say, this story is really good. I've heard of it. It's like really good. After being defeated once again, Kraven Hunter's remaining sanity was destroyed. He hatched a scheme to finally kill Spider-Man. While Spider-Man swung around the city, Craven hit him with a tranquilizer dart. Spider-Man started hallucinating, and Craven knocked him down and captured him in a net. He then shot Spider-Man with a rifle, apparently killing him. In reality, his drugs kept him completely immobile so that Craven could bury him alive. Craven then donned a copy of Spider-Man's costume and called himself the Spider. Trying to become a better Spider-Man than Peter, he ended up brutally attacking, beating criminals, ultimately sending 15 men to the hospital and killing one. The Spider confronted Furman, the Man-Rat, who had resurfaced and killed various people in the sewers. During the ensuing fight, the Spider overpowered Furman and captured him. After 2 weeks, Craven's drug eventually wore off and Spider-Man emerged from his grave. Also, what drug lasts 2 weeks? He learned from a newspaper that someone had been impersonating him. For 2 weeks, he reunited with Mary Jane at their apartment before going to confront Craven. However, he refused to fight, saying that by killing and impersonating him, he had proven his superiority. Craven led Spider-Man to a caged Furman, released him, goading Furman into attacking Spider-Man. At first, Spider-Man fought back, but then backed off, refusing to play Craven's game. Furman overwhelmed him and fled. Spider-Man following him. Having finished his greatest hunt, Craven left off a confession saying they had impersonated Spider-Man for the past 2 weeks, then committed suicide with a hunting rifle. Bro thinks he's Reiner. Spider-Man took down Furman and handed him over to the police, who found Craven's confession. The Clone Saga. Aunt May supposedly suffered oh my god. A debilitating heart attack. This also led the Parkers to meeting Ben Riley, a clone of himself whom Peter had fought years earlier. Riley created a similar spider costume, was dubbed the Scarlet Spider by the Daily Bugle, and helped Spider-Man in his adventures. Just before their meeting, Mary Jane became pregnant. In the apartment, oh my fucking god, I need to go to bed. In the apparent revelation shortly afterwards that Ben was the original Peter Parker and Peter the clone prompted Peter to retire from Spider-Man, relocate to Portland, Oregon. Damn. After a crisis in Portland resulted in minor damage to Peter's cellular structure that prevented him from accessing his powers, Peter chose to accept retirement and focus on his new family. Back in New York, Riley eventually assumed the identity of Spider-Man himself, since the second villain by the name of Dr. Octopus tarnished the reputation of the Scarlet Spider. After a few months in Portland, Peter and Mary Jane returned to New York. With Peter's powers returning after a strange illness was revealed to be his body resetting itself. Although his powers were unpredictable for a while and prone to cutting out on inopportune moments. As Peter's powers returned, however, he and Ben began to contemplate the possibility of both of them acting as Spider-Man. After the recent war against Onslaught resulted in the loss of the Fantastic Four, and so many Avengers, this plan was cut short when Mary Jane was rushed to the hospital while giving birth due to an unexpected medical emergency. Later revealed to have been staged by Norman Osborn, the original Green Goblin. Osborn had survived his apparent death due to an unexpected increased healing factor as part of his powers that no one had known about before. Having stolen the body of Parker's baby, the Goblin revealed that he had manipulated the test to confirm that Peter was the clone and Ben the original, with the goal of destroying Peter's life. Angered when Peter had managed to move past that revelation to make a new life for himself, during the subsequent confrontation, Ben Riley jumped in front of the Goblin's Goblin glider when he sent it flying towards Peter, sacrificing himself to save Peter. Riley's body disintegrated after his death, finally convincing Peter that he was the original. Due to this revelation and the fact that his daughter had died. Wait, his daughter died? No, that's so sad. Peter once again became Spider-Man. The final chapter. After many more months of adventuring, Norman Osborn returned to take control of the Daily Bugle, providing fake evidence that he had never been the Green Goblin and discrediting all contradicting sources. He angered Peter, which caused Spider-Man to brutally beat Norman, which was all caught on a hidden camera in his house. With the staged confrontation and the apparent murder of a small-time criminal using what appeared to be Spider-Man's webbing, Osborn was able to create the fake impression that Spider-Man was a straightforward criminal, and increased pressure was placed on capturing him. In order to continue his crime-fighting career and investigate the fraudulent claims, Parker relinquished his Spider-Man identity while creating 4 unique and separate ones: Dusk, the Hornet, Prodigy, and Ricochet. As Dusk, Parker was able to investigate the Trapster, the only villain capable of creating a convincing duplicate of his webbing, and convince him to confess to the crime to hurt Osborn and publicly exonerate Spider-Man of the murder charge. He also used the Prodigy identity to present fake evidence that someone else had attacked Osborn dressed as Spider-Man, at which point he resumed his Spider-Man identity. Later, the Golden Age hero, the Black Marvel, acquired the 4 costumes and gave them to 4 teenagers, forming a team that he named the Slingers. When the Avengers were attempting to reform their number after disbanding for a year after the crisis known as Onslaught, Spider-Man was contacted due to his past affiliation with them. However, by his own choice, Parker decided to dissolve ties with the Avengers. Aunt May was later discovered to still be alive. The woman who seemingly died was actually a genetically modified actress. What? Parker, Mary Jane, and Aunt May moved to an apartment in Manhattan. Peter had promised Mary Jane to give up his Spider-Man identity, but he'll continually sneak out at night as Spider-Man. Their marriage began to strain, in part because of Mary Jane's new modeling career, and in part because she had discovered Peter's secret long ago. Before they could reconcile, however, Mary Jane was supposedly killed when her airplane exploded. For a long time, Peter refused to believe her dead, but eventually grew to accept it. Peter discovered Mary Jane was alive, captured by a villain who had been stalking her prior to her airplane flight. After a brief reconciliation, Mary Jane requested to leave Peter once more, saying that she just needed time to adjust herself. I'm gonna skip straight to Civil War because the other stuff just felt boring and not really worth reading. But I will be naming them in case, I don't know if these are. There is Totemic Avengers. There's The Queen and the Other. But we are skipping to Civil War because, well, Civil War is extremely popular, so, once again, spoiler alert for that. Despite misgivings and with the support of his family, Peter initially sided with his mentor Iron Man in support of superhero registration. After being unsure initially, as he felt heroes needed to get public support for their actions. Many of the heroes on that side had public identities, with him being the only major supporter of that one. Following Iron Man's unmasking, Iron Man also still was a positive thing to unmask if they were to gain support. He planned to liquidate his assets and flee the country. And flee the country. In case of his unmasking causing problems. His family suggested against it, believing that Parker needed to get recognition for his actions. With Iron Man at his side at a live press conference in Washington, D.C., Peter unmasked and said, "My name is Peter Parker, and I've been Spider-Man since I was 15 years old." His signing with the pro-registration heroes also saw him gaining the Iron Spider armor. Aura Loki, which Stark had been building since Peter's death and resurrection. Okay, alright. Reacted to the unmasking was diverse. Among the negative supporters were Jameson, who fainted upon watching the broadcast and came to disown Peter, having seen him as a son over the years. Deb Whitman, who wrote and published a scathing memoir titled Two-Faced, How Spider-Man Ruined My Life, albeit under duress from Jameson. The Black Cat, who briefly went berserk for being left out of the loop, though she and Peter managed to work it out. Liz Alan, who blamed Peter for causing so much suffering in her life, and the Molten Man, who joined the Chameleon Order to avenge grief and misery heaped upon his stepsister. Oh, no. Bro, just say you want to fuck her, man. Just say it. Besides Mary Jane and Aunt May, Peter had others who were more understanding and stood up for him, such as Betty Brant and Flash Thompson. However, fighting against the fugitive heroes and the existence of the Thor clone, and a prison for the unregistered in the negative zone, created by Iron Man, left a poor taste in his mouth. And he even found out that Iron Man was tracking him with the Iron Spider armor. This caused him to get Aunt May and MJ out of the tower and into hiding. He confronted Stark, who quickly overrode his armor. However, Peter then overrode Stark's command and escaped. In retaliation, Maria Hill sent the pro-registration Thunderbolts, a group of registered and reformed villains, after him. While running through the sewers, he was attacked by the Jester and Jack-O-Lantern. They beat up Spider-Man. But before they could capture him, the Punisher killed them and brought Spider-Man to the Secret Avengers headquarters. After After joining them and reuniting with his wife and aunt, Spider-Man interrupted a news broadcast, announcing his mistake of registering and giving both his allegiance to the anti-registered heroes and a description of the negative zone prison. Spider-Man was one of the few heroes who did not accept the general amnesty after the arrest and death of Captain America. Continuing to work with the underground New Avengers, Peter took Cap's death hard, even blaming himself for it, despite not being present at the shooting. After an encounter with the Rhino and receiving condolences from Wolverine, Spider-Man watched Captain America's funeral on TV with the New Avengers. When the team discussed why they did not go, he said that they could not risk getting arrested by Tony Stark on the spot. This is probably one of my all-time favorite Spider-Man stories. And as I just usually watch YouTube videos on how, on the stories and stuff, I actually just looked, I read this comic. It's called Back in Black. Oh my god, the song AC/DC. I guess let's get into it then. Back in Black. Peter's now public identity allowed the Kingpin to put a hit on Parker's family. His sniper shot at him at his apartment. Peter saved Mary Jane, but the bullet hit Aunt May. He took his aunt to a hospital where she fell into a coma. tracking the sniper's gun to a warehouse full of arms dealers. Fuck, there's no comma there. Spider-Man viciously beat up every one of them, got the names of the dealers who trafficked the guns. Peter donned a cloth version of his black suit to find those who were responsible for hurting his family. Getting the sniper's name from the gun dealers, he tracked him down and beat him up. But he was killed by another assassin. He found the gunman talking to Fisk on his cell phone. Peter took him to a sewer pipe, beat him up, and told him to tell everyone to stay away from his family. He arrived at Rikers Island during a prison riot that was led by the Kingpin, and confronted him. Spider-Man savagely beat up the crime lord and taunted him on his lack of real powers. Spider-Man told Fisk after his aunt died he would kill him. He then threatened the other inmates with slow and painful death if they ever harmed his family before leaving the prison. Spider-Man also confirmed Arrow, who had been posing as a nurse in Midtown High, Miss Arrow, and captured Flash Thompson to use him to hatch her eggs. They began to fight using their stingers, but Arrow managed to hit him in the shoulder, paralyzing him. She decided to place her eggs inside of him instead of Flash. Spider-Man was saved by Betty Brant, who shot the egg sac with a shotgun. Arrow tried to escape, but Spider-Man lured her into an aviary, where she was devoured by hundreds of birds. Spider-Man then stepped on the last spider remaining, killing it. Realizing that he cannot afford his identity to be public knowledge, Peter agreed to aid the Scarlet Spiders in return for their help in reestablishing his secret identity, telling the media that Parker was part of their team, but was discharged and drawing confusion as to if Parker was the first and only Spider-Man. Towards the end of his search, Peter even had an encounter with the One Above All, who asked Peter to let his aunt go, saying that death is a natural part of life. One more day. Peter grew increasingly desperate to save the life of his Aunt May. He sought the help of Doctor Strange, finding that even magic could not help him save Aunt May's life. After appealing to Tony Stark, Jarvis was sent with $2 million to pay the hospital fees, given the best care possible. At one point, Eddie Brock was found in Aunt May's room, where he attempted to commit suicide by jumping out the window. The interdimensional demon Mephisto offered to save Aunt May in exchange for Peter and MJ's marriage. As part of Mephisto's deal, everyone would forget Peter's identity as Spider-Man because of this decision. The daughter they would have had never existed. Then Mephisto rearranged history to make it so that Peter unwittingly would not show up to his wedding day, but stayed with Mary Jane as a longtime couple. But this rearrangement also caused it to be Doctor Strange who erased people's memories about Peter's secret identity, except Mary Jane and some others, and protected Peter with a psychic blind spot, preventing people from being able to consciously deduce that Peter Parker and Spider-Man were the same people unless anyone actually physically saw him take the mask off. But Mary Jane was bitterly hurt from having knowledge of a time of great emotional pain that no one else on the planet remembered. She and Peter agreed that they were still in love with each other, but they had to accept that their relationship put everyone they cared about in danger, and that it was best for them to remain as friends. Damn. Back from years in the European rehab center was Harry Osborn. While searching for a job, Peter joined the Daily Bugle again, which was now bought out by Dexter Bennett, and began to work as a paparazzi reporter, which was something that neither his Aunt May nor Harry approved of. However, after his photographs of the celebrity Bobby Carr, resulting in the deaths of women by a crazed supervillain stalker who was obsessed with him, Peter decided to destroy the new photos he took, resulting in Bennett firing him. Peter soon learned that Bennett had blacklisted him to nearly every news source in town, preventing Peter from finding work. However, Harry suggested that Peter find a job at a news source that was Bennett's enemy, which he did by joining the front line, as it was not under Bennett's influence. Dark reign in the American sun. After the Skrull invasion, Norman Osborn, who had killed the Skrull Queen, who posed as Spider-Woman in the final battle, was given Stark's position as Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Initiative. He donned a altered Iron Man armor with Captain America's color set and became known as the Iron Patriot. He dissolved S.H.I.E.L.D. and created Hammer and his personal Avengers, composed of mainly supervillains who had served in the Thunderbolts, posing as heroes, since Osborn had transformed Venom into a more Spider-Man-like appearance to join his Dark Avengers. Peter had to reveal his secret identity to the new Avengers in order to implicitly earn the team's trust. Upon doing so, Jessica Jones fled the place, as she had gone to high school with Peter and had a crush on him at the time. Oh, cute. During a trip to the Macroverse, Spider-Man revealed to the Fantastic Four his secret identity, and after coming back, he discovered 2 months had passed in Standard Time. Jameson had become the new mayor of New York. Aunt May and Jameson's father, Jay, were in a relationship? Wait, how old is Jameson? Wait, how? Okay. Okay, wait, I got confused. I thought that said Aunt May and... I thought it said Jameson and Aunt May's father. I was about to say, like, what? I'm a little bit tired. Harry had taken to drink, and Michelle Gonzalez has moved into his apartment. Then Spider-Man knew he must act against Norman Osborn in his dark reign. With the help of the Fantastic Four's unstable molecules. Fantastic. Okay. Oh my god. Spider-Man infiltrated Osborn's Avengers as Venom and discovered how Osborn wanted to make his son a new hero called the American Son, and have him killed in action in order to increase his Dark Adventures' popularity. After Spider-Man was captured by Norman Osborn, Harry confronted his father using the American Son armor with the truth about his father's relationship with Lily Hollister, Harry's girlfriend. Damn! Spider-Man prevented Harry from killing Norman. The Grim Hunt. After the wedding of Aunt May and Jay, Jameson's father, Spider-Man saved Jameson from Dr. Octopus with the help of the Human Torch. Around this time, Mary Jane returned to New York, and Peter renewed his relationship with the Black Cat. He later battled a man who wanted to kill Ben Reilly, saw the return of Peter's living clone, Kane. Despite his problems, Spider-Man helped the original Jackpot start fighting crime, and overcame the corrupting control of Mr. Negative's energy. The Kravinoff family started a vengeance scheme against Spider-Man, kidnapping Madam Web and Maddie Franklin, one of the Spider-Women. In addition, Spider-Man managed to get a videotape of Osborn practicing illegal experiments in order to damage his reputation, and leaked it to the public. Later, Spider-Man faced repowered villains such as Electro, who destroyed the DB building, the Sandman, who became obsessed with taking care of his daughter, Kimia, the Rhino, who left Reformation in order to kill a new Rhino who had murdered his wife, Mysterio starting a gang war, a fourth Vulture who tried to kill Jameson, and the Lizard who evolved and killed both his alter ego and his son, Billy. Many of them were helped by Craven's wife, Sasha, who wanted revenge on Spider-Man, arranging most of these attacks so that Peter would be a potent sacrifice. The Kravinoffs killed Maddie Franklin to resurrect the Grim Hunter, and finally hunted Spider-Man, killed him to resurrect Kraven, the hunter. However, it was revealed that the corpse was Kane's, who had earlier knocked out Peter and switched places to save him. After a battle with the Krevinoff family, Madame Webb died, and Julia Carpenter took up her identity. The surviving Kravinoffs left New York. Later, Kane was resurrected from his grave and mutated into a more spider-like creature by the Jackal. Big time. After Osborn's fall and the Registration Act's abolition following the siege of Asgard, Mary Jane invited Peter over so that two of them could gain closure over the marriage that did not happen and the breakup. Later, a massive war ensued between Dr. Octopus, Spider-Man to get Lily Hollister, and Norman Osborn's son. Spidey found the child was actually Harry's, who later left town to raise him. Peter then finally started a relationship with police officer Carly Cooper. Spider-Man's heroic career rose up again. He joined the reassembled Avengers and also stayed with the new Avengers. We're outlaws no more. He learned that Michelle was moving and he could not maintain his apartment anymore. However, Peter found a dream job thanks to Jameson's wife, Dr. Marla Madison, as compensation for Jameson firing him. As a scientist at Horizon Labs, where he had access to much technology and resources, while also giving him the freedom to come and go as he liked. So long as he delivered good results, Spider-Man assisted the Avengers in defeating Dr. Octopus's army of macro-Octobots. He then faced a new Hobgoblin in the Kingpin, but days later, he lamentably lost Marla in a fight between Alistair, Alfonso Smythe's Spider Slayers. After Johnny Storm died preventing an invasion from the Negative Zone, Peter joined the Fantastic Four, now known as the Future Foundation, as Johnny's last request to him, and helped them fight an interdimensional version of Reed Richards and the Sinister Six, who managed to steal tech from the Baxter Building. Their third mission was in the Caribbean. On Earth, there, Reed Richards located the epicenter of the dimensional anomalies that the Future Foundation had been fixing. As the team explored the island, they were attacked by zombie pirates. It was revealed it was all a fake created by the Sinister Six, with only Mysterio and the Chameleon really present. The other four members were robots. Meanwhile, Dr. Octopus and the others infiltrated the Baxter Building, stealing technology for Doc Ock's future plans. Further plans. Spider Island. After helping Anti-Venom, Eddie Brock, to reveal Mr. Negative's identity, as well as learning that Aunt May was moving to Boston with Jay, Spider-Man found himself with a new problem. The Jackal had returned and given the majority of New Yorkers spider powers. The Queen was revealed to be the true mastermind. She wanted to turn the whole human race into spiders. Mr. Fantastic created a cure using the anti-venom symbiote. And after battling Peter under the Jackal's influence, Peter's clone, Kane, was accidentally cured of his mutations, turning him into a perfect clone. While he and the Avengers battled the Spider Queen in Central Park, Kane killed her, and Peter managed to get the cure to every citizen via Doc Ock's mentally controlled Autobots. He met with Jay and May while they were leaving for Boston. Peter then ran into Kane, who told Peter that he was leaving New York and wore Peter's stealth suit. Since Madame Webb had told Kane that he may need it. Also, because of revealing he had spider powers during the Spider Island incident. Peter's psychic blind spot was weakened, letting Carly know that he was Spider-Man, which caused her to break up with him. Before giving the last cured sample to MJ, who briefly attempted to keep some spider powers. Spider-Man met with Madame Web on the roof of Horizon Labs. She told him that he could depower himself with a cured sample and someone else would step in and take his place. Peter refused, saying that throwing away his gift would be the most irresponsible thing he had ever done. Madame Web warned that he would suffer loss, and then cured MJ, and they looked at the Empire State Building, light in red and blue in his honor. Ends of the Earth. After fighting some old foes like the Vulture and his Vulture henchmen, teaming up with Daredevil and the Black Cat, and the now alive Human Torch, Spider-Man faced the return of a menace. Before his death, Dr. Octopus wanted to be remembered as the man who saved Earth by stopping the greenhouse effect. Equipped with a new suit, Spider-Man joined the Avengers to stop Octavius and his Sinister Six. After every Avenger was eventually subdued by Octavius, Silver Sable, who followed Spider-Man to his battle, saved him in the Black Widow. Dr. Octopus asked for help from all nations to capture Spider-Man. Octopus called on many villains to hunt down Spider-Man and his allies. To counter this, Spider-Man called on the heroes that were still on Earth to destroy the facilities of Octopus. After most of the Sinister Six were defeated, Mysterio was convinced by Spider-Man to help him catch Octopus in his base in Guatemala. But Octopus used the mind-controlled Avengers as his new Sinister Six. Spider-Man, Sable, and the Widow managed to defeat the Avengers. Then he and Sable headed to Dr. Octopus's underwater base. They were faced by the Rhino while the base started to flood. He trapped Sable and left Spider-Man with two choices: to continue to fight him in order to save Sable from drowning, but Octopus will activate the lenses, or let him drown himself and Sable to stop Octopus. They're leaving Sable to her death at her request. Spider-Man managed to destroy Octopus's arms and equipment before taking his foes away to a doctor, thus finally saving the world. Peter again was distraught over the death of Silver Sable, as he thought he could have saved her. Julia Carpenter, however, later told him that Sable is still alive. Spider-Man, Heroes of Two Worlds. While fighting Mysterio, Spider-Man was accidentally sent through a dimensional rift in the villain's possession into Earth 1610, the Ultimate Universe, where he encountered the Spider-Man of that world, Miles Morales, taken up the mantle of the late Peter Parker from his universe. Once Miles and S.H.I.E.L.D. made sense of Spider-Man's appearance, they joined forces to fight Mysterio and a robotic avatar that he had used to operate on Earth 1610. Peter eventually cannot resist learning more about the life of his counterpart and visit the home of May Parker and Gwen Stacy from this reality. We had a particularly tearful reunion with the image of where a nephew could have been, which was cut short when both Spider-Men were called by S.H.I.E.L.D. to deal with Mysterio. Once Mysterio's base was located, the Spider-Men attacked him with assistance from the Ultimates and S.H.I.E.L.D. Before Mysterio's portal closed permanently due to malfunctions, Peter gave Miles his blessing as a new Spider-Man and returned to his reality. Later, Peter went online to search if his world had a Miles Morales counterpart and was shocked by what he discovered. The Superior Spider-Man. In the middle of a fight against the Hobgoblin, while his spider sense was overloaded, Spider-Man was unsuspectedly pinched by one of Dr. Octopus's Octobots, programmed to swap consciousnesses between the two, causing Peter to become trapped in the dying body of his foe while Octopus claimed Peter's life for himself in an attempt to take back his life with the little time he had. Peter broke out of Octopus's cell in the raft, leading to a final confrontation between the two in the Avengers Tower. Though Peter failed to reverse the change, he managed to establish a weak link with Dr. Octopus's mind using an Octobot in his final moments. Peter forced Octopus to relive all of his memories, having experienced in a flash of all Peter's trials and tribulations. Octopus learned his lesson of power and responsibility, and swore to carry on Peter's life with dignity as Superior Spider-Man. Also, I encourage people who may be listening to this to fucking read Superior Spider-Man. It's amazing. Since Peter was mentally connected to Dr. Octopus when his body perished, a portion of himself survived in his original body, but in the form of subconsciousness. Thus, he was not able to control the action of his body entirely. Even though Octopus attempted to rid himself of this remnant of Parker, he decided to seek its help sometime later, after being overwhelmed by the returned Green Goblin and his Goblin Nation, realizing that he had failed in his role as a Superior Spider-Man. Having pushed his allies aside and lost his resources in the process, Octopus willingly allows Peter to reclaim his body in order to defeat Osborn once and for all, and save Anna Maria Marconi, Octopus's love. In the aftermath of Otto's possession of his body, Peter began to amend the relationships damaged by Otto's arrogance and negligence. Both as Peter Parker and Spider-Man, he additionally took up the reins of Parker Industries, a small company founded by Octavius after leaving Horizon Labs. The Spider-Verse. The Spider-Verse. Probably one of the most popular Spider-Man stories. Alright. While adjusting to his new status quo, especially his position as the CEO of his very own company, Peter learned of the existence of Cindy Moon, a second person to have been bit by the same radioactive spider, which granted Peter his powers. Spider-Man tracked her down and freed her from a bunker owned by the late Ezekiel Sims, where Cindy spent over 10 years in voluntary confinement shortly after getting her powers in order to avoid drawing attention. While Peter notified Cindy that Moreland was dead, he had, in fact, survived his last encounter against Spider-Man. Not long after rescuing Cindy, who went on to adopt her own superheroic identity as Silk. Oh, damn. Spider-Man was approached by a contingent of spider people from all over the multiverse that banded together to fight the Inheritors, a group of psychic vampires in the family of Moreland that had begun to hunt down spider totems of other realities. During a mission to gather more recruits in AD 2099, the Spider Army stumbled upon another party of spider people led by Otto Octavius, or rather a version of him from the recent past, who had been plucked out of time. The combined Spider Army was forced to retreat to Earth 3145 after their safe zone in Earth 13 had been compromised by the Inheritors, namely Moreland, his brother Genix, and his father, and the leader of the Inheritors, Solace. With the help of Spider-Woman, who had previously infiltrated the Inheritors' base on Earth 001, the Spider Army learned of a prophecy, and in which the Inheritors planned to sacrifice 3 key spiders. The other, the Bride, and the Scion. These individuals were Kane Parker, Cindy Moon, and Benji Parker. of Earth 982, respectively. Bar. With the help of even more recruits from other realities and even a deviant inheritor named Karn, the Spider Army, including a version of Gwen Stacy with spider powers known as Spider Gwen, launched one final attack on the inheritors' home of Earth 001. The ritual was stopped and the inheritors were exiled with no means to return home to the radioactive wasteland that had become the world of Earth 31405. With the inheritors neutralized, most of the spider totems were sent home. Spider-Man and a few others stayed on Earth 001 for a little while longer to defeat the time displaced Octavius, who had gone rogue after learning that Parker would eventually regain control of his body. Octavius was defeated and returned to the time he had come from, losing the memory of the recent events in the process, with no more problems to confront Spider-Man. And the rest of the spider totems were sent home. The rise and fall of Parker Industries. It sounds like a fucking Sunny V2 video. Unbeknownst to anyone, Dr. Octopus had created a digital backup of his own mind, which ended up inhabiting the metallic body of Parker Industries, his robot assistant, the Living Brain. Over the course of the following months, Octopus routinely hacked into systems of the market, shared to manipulate its numbers in the favor of Parker Industries. As a consequence of this, the company managed to expand into a global conglomerate with numerous bases in different countries. With the company's trademark invention being a mobile device called the Webware, this change in Peter's life impacted his superheroic alter ego as well. Spider-Man officially became the mascot of Parker Industries under the guise of being Peter's bodyguard. One of Peter's biggest challenges during his tenure as a billionaire CEO was the... Oh wow, what a hard life he has. What a hard life. Was the emergence of a mysterious biotech company operating out of the Trans-America pyramid called New U. Peter discovered it was a front for the operations of the Jackal, who claimed to have found a way to bring people back from the dead using cloning technology in an attempt to persuade Peter. Hello, Peter. Hey, Joe. Hey, Joe. To put Parker Industries' resources to help out his plan, the Jackal resurrected several of his late friends and foes, including Gwen Stacy, in a turn of events. The Jackal is revealed to be Ben Reilly, who had been brought to life by the original Jackal before taking his place. Holy plot twists. The Jackal's plan eventually fell apart following the triggering of cellular decay in the clones created by New U, which led to the release of the carry-on virus worldwide. The crisis was averted when Spider-Man had his Webware transmit an audio frequency in a global scale, which halted the cellular degeneration, but not before most of the clones had died. The Jackal, a clone himself, was left for dead, though he secretly escaped and returned to the mantle of the Scarlet Spider. Of course he fucking did! No one fucking dies! Afterward, Peter teamed up again with Teresa Duran, a CIA agent with whom Peter had already joined forces in a mission at least 1 year ago, during which he was seemingly brainwashed by the Kingpin and Mentalo, that's fucking close to Metallo, to believe she was Peter's long-lost sister. Teresa sought Peter's help when on the run from a government organization called the Great Blade. Hydra's takeover of the United States of America temporarily put a halt to Peter and Teresa's escapades. Numerous headquarters of Parker Industries around the globe were then targeted by the forces of the terrorist organization, namely a unit led by one of Hydra's latest editions, the duplicate of Dr. Octopus, who'd gained a physical body through the Jackal's cloning technology, in a last-ditch effort to prevent the resources of Parker Industries from falling in the hands of Octavius and Hydra. Parker had his employees obliterate all systems of the company, running Parker Industries into the ground. Afterward, Peter fought alongside the rest of America's superheroes during the underground assault on Washington, D.C., which ultimately ended with Hydra's defeat and the restoration of the United States. Despite having his civilian reputation smeared due to his company's collapse, Peter eventually got back on his feet after beginning a short-lived relationship with Parker Industries' former S.H.I.E.L.D. liaison, the Mockingbird. Peter was hired by Robbie Robertson, that motherfucker's back again, as the editor for the Daily Bugle science section. Before Peter recovered himself, however, his adventure with Teresa continued, who discovered that she was Reed and Mary Parker's daughter. Who discovered that she truly was Richard and Mary Parker's daughter, and shared this information with Peter. Not long after Peter had decided to reveal his secret identity to Jameson, Jonah was kidnapped by Norman Osborn and accidentally let it slip that Peter was Spider-Man. In addition to having regained his powers, Osborn had bonded with the Carnage symbiote, giving birth to the Red Goblin. Peter failed to take down Osborn despite help from his allies. He was overpowered in battle even after Eddie Brock had lent him his symbiote. Peter only managed to defeat Osborn in a fight after tricking him into rejecting the symbiote, having claimed that any credit for his defeat would go to the Carnage symbiote and not Osborn himself. Unfortunately, the process of defeating Osborn cost the life of Spider-Man's biggest fan, Flash Thompson, who had recently become the superhero Agent Anti-Venom. Peter's public reputation was further damaged after being accused of plagiarizing his doctoral dissertation from Dr. Octopus. Unable to defend himself without exposing his secret identity, Peter was stripped of his credentials and he was fired from the Daily Bugle again as well. Receiving a re-enrollment recommendation by Dr. Connors at Empire State University to earn his college degree, Peter also started sharing an apartment with Randy Robertson again. Who the fuck is Randy Robertson? Again, like I know who the fuck that is. They were joined by a third roommate in the form of Frederick Myers, alias the supervillain Boomerang, who struck up a tenuous friendship with Peter. As these events unfolded, Peter was unaware of becoming the target fixation of a demonic entity dubbed Kendrick, consumed by the belief that Peter had to repent for his sins and the misery they had brought on his loved ones. Although Peter had rekindled his relationship with Mary Jane, Kendrick would later use Mysterio to give her an acting opportunity out west for several months, while appearing in nebulous nightmares to psychologically torture Peter. With Kraven's return for a great hunt, Spider-Man was trapped by the Hunter in Central Park, alongside several animal-themed villains. Visions of Mary Jane's death spurred Peter on to save all the remaining captives, with aid from the Black Cat, returning home to find Mary Jane safe. As Moreland returned, seeking to finish Peter off, J. Jonah Jameson enlisted the NYPD to help in the Inheritors' capture. Before aiding the Spider Army against the returned Inheritors, Peter subsequently became tangled helping Venom against the resurgent Carnage. herald of the symbiote's god, Null. Peter's involvement was protecting Brock's son, Dylan, and Normie Osborn from the released Norman Osborn, who still believed himself to be Cletus Cassidy and was bonded to a copy of the Carnage symbiote by the real Cassidy as a pawn. Whilst Spider-Man was victorious in defeating Norman, he was unaware that Kindred gave him the opening shot to win by tampering with Osborn's mind. After Kindred resurrected Stanley Carter, alias the Sin Eater, the demon that sent him on a campaign of vicious vigilantism, with the new ability to strip both of the powers and wickedness from supervillains, leaving them deeply repentant. As Carter targeted the restored Norman Osborn, who had made director of Ravencroft Institute, a conflicted Peter, chose to save Norman, who became the Green Goblin again, to fight alongside him against the Sin Eater. Norman attempted to kill Peter at the last moment, but the Order of the Web intervened and helped him escape, with Norman further acting out of line. Peter finally snapped and left him behind at the Sin Eater's mercy, who purified Osborn. Kindred transformed the collected sins and thrust them to the Order, turning them into rampaging monsters. Seeking Doctor Strange's aid, Spider-Man used a magical item to find Kindred's base, where the demon revealed himself as Harry Osborn. Kindred tortured Peter, who traded his life for the Order's freedom, with repeated killing and resurrections. Then had a returned Mary Jane join their reunion. Norman purged of his wickedness, disclosed Kindred's identity to her, and she managed to distract Kindred long enough for Norman and the Kingpin to successfully enact a plan that restrained Kindred in a cage of dark force. For a brief time, Spider-Man accepted a work offer at Jameson's news outlet. I've already fucked up 2 times. Threats and Menaces, gaining a new suit that enhances abilities. Threats and Menaces, gaining a new suit that enhances his abilities and broadcasts his crime-fighting activities with it. Spider-Man and Boomerang finished a long-running quest to reassemble the Lifeline tablet fragments. However, Myers eventually revealed his friendship with Peter to have been a long con to get Spider-Man's help, and delivered the tablets to Mayor Wilson Fisk to resurrect his son, the Rose. Shortly afterward, Kindred orchestrated Spider-Man's kidnapping to force him out into a battle royale against various supervillain teams vying to kill him, but Boomerang sacrificed himself to save Spider-Man from Morlund's grasp. And the conflict ended with the villains all incapacitated by Dr. Octopus in a bid to free himself from Kindred's influence. During his subsequent final confrontation against Kindred, Peter learned that the villain was a shared mantle between Sarah and Gabriel Stacy, both secretly twisted into pawns of Mephisto and also revealed as hybrid clones of Gwen and Norman, and not their actual offspring. In truth, the alleged affair was a fabrication orchestrated by an AI copy of Harry's evil mind from his Green Goblin days. The real Harry was... Peter learned the villain was a shared mantle between Sarah and Gabriel Stacy, both secretly twisted into pawns of Mephisto, and also revealed as hybrid clones of Gwen and Norman, and not their actual offspring. In truth, the alleged affair was a fabrication orchestrated by an AI copy of Harry's evil mind from his Green Goblin days. The real Harry was revealed to be a clone of the late Harry Osborn, who came and assisted Peter before he died at Kindred's hands after the Kindred twins proved unsuccessful in killing Spider-Man. Mephisto killed them behind the scenes, thus freeing Peter from their haunting. When the Beyond Corporation brought the Spider-Man trademark and recruited Ben Reilly to become their corporate-sponsored Spider-Man, Peter was ill-disposed to him taking up the mantle. He was left with no choice after Beyond secretly orchestrated for an encounter with the UFOs to leave with Peter hospitalized with acute radiation poisoning. Peter was in a coma for weeks until Dr. Octopus anonymously sent his doctors the research necessary to cure him, for Aunt May's sake. Afterward, the Black Cat and Captain America helped Peter as he slowly got back in shape. While still recovering, Peter was propelled into action after Beyond unleashed a new villainess called the Queen Goblin. By this time, Riley had turned against Beyond for their sleazy machinations. I don't fucking know. Namely, their use of memory erasing technology on Ben, which robbed him of many of the formative memories that he had inherited from Parker. With his moral code compromised, Ben ultimately turned against Peter and attempted to use this technology on him to retrieve the memories from the original source. Peter managed to fend off his clone, but Ben was left for dead after Beyond destroyed a portion of their headquarters to cover their tracks. Marked. When Mary Jane invited Peter to move in, Benjamin Rabin returned newly empowered and sought to use the two in a ritual to summon his god, Webb, as he had tried before. After Rabin marked the two, he sent both to an alternate Earth devastated by Webb, where they were rescued by Paul, working on a device to escape back to their Earth. But when Webb attacked, intent on killing Spider-Man, Mary Jane activated the device to rescue Peter and killed Webb, trapping her with Paul. Peter discovered a time dilation upon his return and frantically searched for a lab to repair the device, brushing off his heroic connections for not helping immediately. With the FBI after Spider-Man due to his explosive re-entry and his heroic friend attempting intervention due to his abnormal behavior, a desperate Peter sought Norman's help. Compromised and irrational, Peter robbed several heroes for the materials Norman needed to construct a suit that reached Mary Jane. Distant from him after so long, returning to New York 6 months later, Peter was once alienated from his heroic and personal connections for his behavior, including Mary Jane, who stayed with Paul for the sake of their adopted children. Oh, damn. After doing a background check, Peter confronted Paul, who revealed he was Rabin's son from the dead Earth. While upset at the bombshell, Mary Jane revealed that she knew this during her time with him, stating there were similarities with guilt and pain between Paul and Peter. After Peter resumed his personal life, Spider-Man's interloping triggered a gang war between Tombstone's gang and the Rose. The Tombstone misled that he would cause a massacre to compel superhero action, and Spider-Man realized too late the deception is subduing the Rose for Tombstone. With motivation by the Black Cat, Spider-Man led Digger to find Tombstone's secret cache of goods, earning the latter's respect and calling things even. On his birthday, Spider-Man rescued a captive Dr. Octopus and Sinister Six from the Ultra Living Brain, but when he opposed their plan to destroy The ultra living brain dissuade the synthesoid to send away his arch foes and shockingly wished Peter a happy birthday before being shot down. Offered backing by Oscorp, Peter initially refused after Norman's organizing a well-meaning encounter with Mary Jane, but later accepted after using a new Spider-Man suit that Norman made to defeat the Vulture. Invited to the Hellfire Gala by Wolverine, Spider-Man was alerted by Cypher to Mary Jane's covert SOS, finding Moira X holding her hostage via a disguised necklace trap. While Great Crow stealthily followed her, Wolverine led an emotional Spider-Man on the rescue mission to St. Chapelle Cathedral after returning to New York. Peter's reconnection was denied as Mary Jane could not simply leave Paul due to a sense of responsibility, something she hoped that he would have understood. While the progenitor began judgment, it observed Peter as a memory projection of Gwen Stacy after Peter explained needing Norman's help to save Mary Jane if the outcome was not as planned. Peter still gave him a fresh start to prevent possible relapsing. Judged worthy, Gwen was momentarily revived as a gift to say goodbye and opened Peter's heart. Learning Ned was investigating Norman on suspected collusion with Roderick Kingsley, Spider-Man discovered that Ned was brainwashed into thinking himself to be the Hobgoblin by the Winkler device again. Partnered with Kingsley, an overwhelmed Spider-Man was saved by Norman's timely arrival, but learned from Betty that the Winkler device was missing yet again. While remembering the departed Harry on his birthday with friends, hiding that it was his clone, that he had died recently, Peter Spider-Sense was overwhelmed by demons invading New York again, instigated by a mentally warped Ben, now dubbed Chasm, with the Goblin Queen's involvement, as Ben blamed Peter for nearly killing him. Learning Robbie and Jonah were trapped in Limbo, Peter was baited into going to Limbo per Chasm's trap, and made to live a demonic parody of his bugle years with them. When Jonah tricked the demons into swarming the exit portal to lead them to an escape, they met a new ally, Wreck-Rap, just as Ben became King Chasm after Hallows' Eve stole the Goblin Queen's Scythe of Sorrows. Spider-Man partnered with the X-Men and the Goblin Queen to escape Limbo, save New York, and depower Ben from Madeline to imprison. Once more dating, Peter accompanied Felicia to an upstate spa retreat to open up about a split with Mary Jane. There, they found the White Rabbit and Kareem renting out villain tech to rich startup geniuses, the synergists whose leader, Mikal, was found dead, sparking a battle. The heroic and criminal duo subdued the synergists while destroying their tech, exposing that Mikal had faked his death with Mysterio tech to test the group's loyalty. After leaving them for the authorities, Peter opened up to Felicia about his love for Mary Jane, likely changing from romantic to cordial. Sometime later, Felicia and Peter took a trip to attend a wedding in Omaha, Nebraska. Just as he was about to join Felicia for a dance, he saw a thief stealing the wedding gifts. By the time he got back after stopping a thief, the last dance had finished and Felicia was annoyed with him. However, Peter then invited Felicia to stargaze with him all night, which led her to forgive him. 6 months after their cursed last encounter, Benjamin Rabin returned, mystically empowered again as the emissary prompting Mary Jane to end her distancing and call Peter. Partnered with the Gold Goblin and Miss Marvel to battle Rabin, the Fantastic Four came to help Spider-Man by defeating a dragon. Where the fuck did the dragon come from? When Rabin seemingly killed Mary Jane, Peter was shocked to find it was Miss Marvel in disguise, revealing herself as Kamala Khan. With Rabin dead from an improper ceremony, Peter and his allies mourned Kamala's sacrifice. End of the Spider-Verse. After Peter was met by Morlun, Miles, Cindy, and Jess came to his aid. However, Morlun was actually sent to help as Spider-Man Noir killed Jess with a totem dagger, severing her from the Great Web. Peter and his allies were met by Wasp, turned former allies sent from the Great Nest to assimilate them as Wasp totems. During a brief battle, Aranya saved them by exfiltrating Peter and allies to Earth 616 Beta, where they met their only remaining allies and learned of Morlun's family massacre. Sadly, Miles began turning from his wasp sting, not immune like the 616 spiders, guiding Shathra to their location. After Miles left to save the others, Peter wanted a way to revive the race spiders, including Jessica Drew, so Peter led a retrieval team to a special temple. However, despite their success acquiring the artifact, Shathra found them and sent her swarm, where Wasp Gwen used the totem dagger to kill Peter and sever him from the Great Web. And that's all I'm going to be covering as of now. If you would like me to cover the remaining, 3 little stories there, comment. But these are in, the past, 3-4 years, so, or, 2 or 3 years, so. I mean, I want people to read the more, modern comics, so that's pretty cool. Read them anyway. They're probably amazing. I don't know. I haven't read them. I might read them. This video is probably around 2 hours long, so yeah. All right. I hope you enjoyed this 2-hour yap sesh. Wow.